Gonna start with c4 today. Couperin's 1900. That's the move I like to play. Just a waiting move to see what the white setup is. Then he goes for this counter in the center. Okay, if he pushes the pawn, I can move my knight here, I think. Can I ever get in d3, e4, knight e2? Or should I just go here? Yeah, I'm not sure what to do in this position, actually. I'll play a non-committal move myself. Okay, so yeah, he's definitely making it hard for me to get something on this square. Let's play here. So the knight has a retreating square. Okay, we'll just block up the center then. Looks like we'll get a normal position. He's got his bishop outside the pawn chain. I guess that was good for black, this transaction. Okay, I'm going to stop that pawn from coming forward. If he takes here, I don't mind. If I go here, he will retreat the bishop, I guess. If I put the bishop there, he can take it. If I move my pawn, he can take my knight. If I go here, he can retreat the bishop, and then he'll be threatening to play g4. So, go here, I guess. Threaten to take this pawn. Couperin's, yeah, Couperin's moving very quickly. Can he, if I go here, he can take the, he can take the pawn with his knight because there's a pin there. Oops, shoot. Yeah, like that. Whatever. Okay, looks like he's just going to reduce the situation by taking... Anyway, I was thinking of playing b3 there instead of b4 and then moving the bishop here and then pushing on with b4. So my rooks are connected. I don't have to worry about this. Do I? No, I don't. But my bishop will never get out of jail here. Let's see, if I move my bishop to f1, and he takes, I can always take back with the f-pawn. So I don't need my rooks to be connected. Okay, let's pin the knight. Going to put the rook on the C file. You know, he got he got castled and I didn't, but it's not such a huge accomplishment in this situation. Don't understand that. Let's see. Oh, I can't take the pawn because it pins. I am pinned as well. Just go here. So I have the bishop pair in exchange for a pawn and a nice centrally located king. He's trying to trick me again. If I go here, I guess I should go back there. He's got the check here. It's a bit annoying, but what else am I to do? If I drop back, he's got the check here, which, well, I could take. Okay. This wins the bishop pair back for him if he goes here with the check. I want to be able, I didn't like the knight coming here with check because it would cost me this pawn. He goes there anyway. I thought he would go here and at least win my light squared bishop. Okay, if he takes, I can take with the bishop. If I put a rook here, it'll be in the light. It'll be in the line of fire of his bishop. Let's see, I can lift my rook up. I'm going to try and operate on the light squares. I mean on the dark squares because he's got a light squared bishop. I guess he can just take, yeah. Maybe I get the pawn back. So knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes, king here, hitting the rook. And the rook has no square. Okay, so he gives up the exchange. Interesting way to play. So I can step here. I think I will. Attack the knight and the pawn. He can take my... he can take my bishop. And he did. And he defends that pawn. So let's get this rook out. Yeah, I don't think my opponent played this in the best possible way. But it's interesting. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's got 2 pawns for the exchange, but my rooks are pretty active here. Okay, let's take there. Let's take this pawn. I have various things I can do. I can move the rook here with the threat of mate. So he's going to check me here. I'll go here. Check me here. I'll just keep running. Put my rook here. There's a dual mate threat, right? Either rook down is a threat of mate. So he can move this pawn. Maybe that was his idea and stop this mate threat, but it doesn't stop the other one. And at some point he runs out of checks. I think right about here. I played really fast at certain points in the game, and sometimes when you play fast, you just miss things. Yeah, his last hope was that I moved the wrong rook, move this rook to bait, and then he takes it. So always beware of the tricks, especially when you're playing someone strong. They will find ways to trick you. We can try a rapid game here. Cardinal 13. Now let's play the Sicilian. He's going for a C3 Sicilian, an Alpine Sicilian. So this is all pretty standard. I think you play here. Open up a diagonal for this bishop. See if he wants to do anything about this. And start to chip away at the center. So you gave him a big center and then you chip away at it. Typical kind of counter-punching strategy, similar to an Alechen's defense. And in fact, one line is bishop here, knight here. Starts to look very much like an Alechen's defense. But you can also play pawn up, leading to a funny situation. If he takes, you take back, and you've got these doubled pawns, but they get undoubled because they're opposing these two pawns. So it's actually not a bad way to play, and you win the bishop. So you have the bishop pair. Okay, so he does none of that. Let's go ahead and develop a knight first. And if he takes, I can take back with the queen, but eventually I'm going to push this pawn. The question I have to decide is whether I want to get this bishop out before I push the pawn, or just push it. I don't think it's particularly critical to get it out. If you have a pawn here and a knight here, this is a good knight. It may be worth it for him to give up a bishop to get rid of that knight, and then you take this pawn, and then this diagonal is open anyway. So I think e6 here is a reasonable move, and bishop e7 and castle. Yeah, so this is the point where I could play knight to b6. Yeah, let's do that. Knight b6. The bishop will move, and then I'll play. I will play e6. He may be wondering about some tricks with the bishop takes. Possible. But he hasn't got time to do, for example, knight out, because that bishop is just taking. That's the other advantage of playing e6, is it shuts down the bishop on that diagonal. So after the bishop moves, that's probably that's what I'm going to play next. e6. He takes, I can take with the bishop. He pushes, I can take here with the knight. He takes, I take. Leads to a bit of an ugly structure. But I think I need to block that diagonal. So, if he pushes, I could take with this knight too. So it's okay. Yeah, so develop the bishop. Now it's better. Now I don't mind taking this way because when he trades queens, I can take back with the bishop and I'll still get castled. So my remaining problem in this position, excuse me, is this bishop. The light squared bishop is locked in behind the pawn chain. And this knight over here probably needs to be repositioned at some point. He develops. Logical play from white. That's why I like to sometimes leave the knight here and play e6. They take, and then there's it eases the congestion a bit. Now if I put my knight here, he can trade it off and win a pawn. So I might start taking things. Well, I could either push this pawn, that's something I could consider, or I can take. If I push, he does have the idea of the knight coming here to here. My bishop is covering that currently. But a closed position makes it a little bit harder for me to unravel. Closed position where I'm a little short on space. Let's see, how about knight here first? If I put the knight there, if he takes, I take with the bishop. Otherwise, I'm threatening just to win a pawn there, right? Pawn takes, knight takes, knight takes, knight takes. And the queen is defended by the bishop and the rook. So, but knight here, maybe he pushes this pawn. Well, then I just take this one. Takes this one. Oh, yeah. He pushes. Yeah, I can't take with this knight because this knight is hanging, and I take with this knight. My other knight is here, blocking the defense of this pawn. So it means I should take first if he pushes, and then take this pawn. Well, my opponent is using his time, so I shouldn't complain. But it's only move 10, and he's used half his time. That's not an ideal. I mean, I complain when my opponents move too fast, so I shouldn't complain when they move too slow. But taking half your time for the first 10 moves is not ideal. Because, well, the first couple moves should be basically free in terms of time, because you should know the first few moves of whatever opening you're playing. By move 10, you should certainly be thinking, but in most cases, I don't know, some people know there are opening lines that go out to 20 moves and more, but not too often. That doesn't happen too often, and especially at our level. Okay, so this is the point where I have to think. So yeah, I like the idea of moving the knight here. Temporarily blocks the bishop, but it increases the pressure on this pawn. And I don't see that he has a good counter to it. Knight here, I will just take the pawn. Pawn push, I take the pawn that he pushes, and then I take the other pawn. Other moves I might consider, I just need to unblock things a bit in the center, and this I think is helping me do that so that I can develop this bishop. And with the knight out of the way, I can do this kind of thing. There's potentially a good diagonal here for my bishop. He did. Okay, so what I thought of here was taking this pawn and then taking this one. So when I take this pawn, he can take with the queen, hitting this square, but it's defended by the rook. And when I take this pawn with the knight, I'll have the knight defending there too. Or he could take with the bishop, or he could take with the knight. When he takes with the knight, he'll be hitting my bishop. But I'll be able to take a pawn. So even if he wins the bishop pair, I'll have some compensation for it. So I'm just going to take. Ah, he takes that way first. That's smart. Okay, well, I can move my bishop first. But probably I should just take. Anyway, my position is now freed. The center is blown away completely. So bishop here, queen takes, knight here. And then this diagonal is open for my bishop, and all my pieces are on decent squares. Bishop here, knight here. I can still go knight here. And similarly with bishop there. So I think it's all okay. Well, anyway, so he was using his time to good effect, I have to say. Yeah, so I want to put my knight here, unblock my bishop. And if he takes, it brings my queen out. I'll put a rook here. If he lets me take, and there's this trick, winning the queen. Oh, no, it doesn't. It does not win the queen, because the queen, even if he takes with the queen will be defended by the bishop. So never mind. Okay, he's increasing the pressure. Sure. So what's the best way to deal with that? I could I think I should just develop my bishop. Put it here opposite his bishop. And if we get a bunch of trades, I'll be left with a couple of pawns in the center. And if I trade my bishop for this knight, then the pressure on my knight is not a problem anymore. So if he takes, I have to take back with a pawn. The thing to watch out for is if there's any quick attack, say queen there, taking advantage of the open G file. So I don't know. Yeah, I haven't quite seen Allen Sicilian end up like this before. I'm not sure who did something wrong. This pawn is not bad, though. It is keeping the knight from jumping forward. So I can bring this bishop back here to chase his bishop away. If he takes my bishop, I can take with the pawn. I can put my knight here. I'll come over and defend. So Cardinal, so yeah, he's used up nine of his 10 minutes, and we're only on move 17. Around here, around move 20, this is where you should be, I think, at the halfway point, time-wise. The early middle game, you know, a little bit for the opening, a fair amount for the early middle game, another chunk for the late middle game, and then the end game. You still need a little time for the end game. So he's going for an end game. Yeah, this end game is not bad for me. I mean, maybe he thinks he'll win because of these doubled pawns here. Or maybe he doesn't think he's winning and he just wants a draw. I'm not sure. Yes. He undoubles my pawns. So now we have a completely even material. And I have an extra pawn in the center. Restricting his knight. Yeah, okay, so let's blockade here. And keep his knight out of this square. Okay, so I can bring my king up. I always have this check, and white resigned. White resigned. Oh, because I have the check. Yeah. Yeah, that's what happens when you run low on time. So let's see, what time is it? Yeah, let's play a quick game. Maybe a 3 and 2. I haven't done one of those in a while. Just play some quick moves for fun. A Sicilian, a classical, maybe. Oh no! Wow, that's weird. Okay, if I check with the bishop, does that do anything? How about we put the bishop here? Go for a Bowdler attack. Ah, that's castle. Okay, rook here, defending the pawn that he's attacking. Now, how about if I push this pawn and drop the bishop back? So here, let's put it all the way back here. This is interesting. I mean, he's played so slowly here and he's locked up the queen side, so don't have to do anything super fast. Let's get my knights out. I'm going to attack on the king side here. Let's take... I like to have at least one open line. Okay, so I'm going to develop my bishop next, and then I'm going to develop my queen. That will be okay with this position. Is he going to castle? He is. Yep, so we get the bishops off. Take. Okay, so where's the best way to get rid of that knight? Ah, he's pausing to think for a bit, yeah. I had thought of that. What? Oh my gosh. We both ignored that. Okay, well, that's what happens when you're playing too fast. Okay, that's enough for today. I will see you all next time. Bye now.